Welcome to the Big Seance podcast. I'm Patrick Keller of BigSeance.com, and this is a place for an open discussion on all things paranormal, but specifically topics like ghosts and hauntings, paranormal research, spirit communication, psychics and mediums, and life after death. So basically, anything that pops up in my paranormal world. The candles are already lit, so you might as well come on in and join the seance.
Well, if I were going to haunt anybody, this would certainly be the house I'd do it in.
Well, hey, Booze. As I record this, it's the day before Halloween, and so I hope you're out there either doing something spooky, lighting a few extra candles, or doing whatever you can to add some Halloween magic to whatever task you're doing. Whether it's working, doing the dishes, cleaning the house, or even waiting in line to pick your kid up from school. Whatever it is. And hopefully this episode helps you to do just that. I've done just about all of my traditional October activities. The house has been decked out in Halloween for a month and a half. I've listened to lots of old spooky radio dramas on my late night walks with Rooney. I've watched my usual list of spooky old movies that I like to watch this time of year. I've carved quite a few jack-o'-lanterns. I've been lighting them every night in this last week leading up to tomorrow. And I've even toasted all of the pumpkin seeds. They're delicious. And the weather here has really turned, y'all. It's quite cold and wet, and my fingers now, even trying to produce this little episode, they just don't want to work the same. I almost need gloves. On the other side of the state here in Missouri, they even saw snow yesterday morning. I kind of love it. I like the changes in weather, but I worry about what it means for the trick-or-treaters. But hopefully they bundle up and make their way here tomorrow night. I have a special treat for you today. A Halloween rewind from 2 different old Halloween episodes from the vaults. We'll be going way back to 9 years ago in these first clips. I'm wondering how many of you were listening back then. In this episode, which was episode 17 actually, I had a special guest, Karen A. Dahlman, and it was already her second appearance on the show at that time. The episode was called The Legends, Lore, and Symbols of Halloween with special co-host Karen A. Dahlman. I'm not playing the whole episode for you today, but most of it is here, including what may be Meth Hazel's first appearance on the show. Remember her? Longtime listeners will know who Meth Hazel is. She's the witch that lives in the woods behind my house. I don't see her that often anymore, actually. But anyway, after that, one of my favorite Halloween moments from the show was in 2019, where I interviewed trick-or-treaters from my neighborhood in my driveway. I just love it so much, and I can't help but think about how this was the last Halloween before the whole world paused and shut down. I also imagine what these kids would sound like 4 years later. They're 4 years older now. But before we get to the Halloweens of the past, I want to share some news about the music you're listening to right now. The music in the background is by the artist Sam Haynes. I've incorporated his music into my shows many times over the years, especially in a lot of these older episodes. Well, I reached out to Sam, and he has 2 new Halloween albums out this year. You can find Sam Haynes on Spotify, and I'll have a link in the show notes. This particular track is from the Haunted House Party 2 album. But I wanted to play DJ and go ahead and play a complete track for you before we move on to highlights from the old shows. This track is called Murder House. And again, this is by Sam Haynes, who you can find on Spotify. Talk to you on the other end.
The ghosts are moving tonight, restless, hungry. May I introduce myself? I'm Watson Pritchard. In just a minute, I'll show you the only really haunted house in the world. Since it was built a century ago, 7 people, including my brother, have been murdered in it. Since then, I've owned the house. I've only spent one night there, and when they found me in the morning, I was almost dead.
I'm Frederick Lawrence, and I rented the house on Haunted Hill tonight so that my wife can give a party. A haunted house party. She's so amusing. There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited. starting now, and you have until midnight to find the house on Haunted Hill.
Okay, here we go, y'all. It was 2014, and Karen and I had so much fun co-hosting this special episode together. In fact, we both listened back to it this weekend and reminisced. We were both almost 10 years younger. My voice sounds younger for sure. I can hear it. And I remember that old microphone too. All right. Well, here's Meth Hazel in what I think is her first appearance.
Greetings! All Hallows Eve is upon us. It's getting closer with every day and every hour. In today's episode, the very wise and always kind Karen A. Dahlman returns, this time as a guest co-host. You may remember Karen from episode number 5. She is a Ouijaologist, so basically, she's a Ouija expert. But she's also the author of The Spirit of Creativity and The Spirits of Ouija. In today's episode, Patrick and Karen chat about the October season so far, and some of the myths, legends, lore, and symbols of Halloween.
Well, welcome back, everybody, and welcome back to Karen A. Dahlman, who is my co-host for this episode. Hello, Karen.
Hi, Patrick. Happy to be back.
Oh, I'm so excited that you came to enjoy this episode with me and have some fun. We thought we would have some good old Halloween fun this week as we prepare for what is my favorite holiday. As you know, I'm assuming it's probably your favorite holiday, Karen. Is it?
It's one of my favorites. I like anything having to do with the equinoxes when the season changes. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well and why that is.
I'm excited. Well, we wanted to talk about all things All Hallows Eve, aka Halloween, like the legends, the lore, the symbols, and maybe some other fun stuff. And I also wanted to mention that Karen is featured with several other special guests in an episode that's going to be coming up the week of Halloween. She has shared an awesome story from her Halloween past, so listen into that one in a couple of weeks. So Karen's lovely voice will be back here in a couple of weeks. So are you excited about Halloween coming up, Karen?
I am excited about Halloween coming up, and as we were discussing earlier, it's tough in Southern California because our seasons don't change, so we don't get the coldness or the leaves falling and turning colors. No, we have our green palm trees and flowers blooming everywhere. But Halloween is a state of mind, a state of being, and a state of fun. So in that sense, I love it.
So what kind of traditions are around there in California to keep people kind of do you see the same kind of decorations and traditions around there as you would say here in the Midwest where I am?
Yes and no. It depends what neighborhood you're in. You'll see it a little bit in some of the cute, smaller neighborhoods. Some of the bigger ones you may not. But there definitely is trick-or-treating. I think what's shifted a lot for some of the trick-or-treating is that schools will host, as you probably know, festivals. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the kids will go to these parties there and play the games, bobbing for apples, and all the fun stuff, and contests for costumes and things of that nature. I've been getting less and less trick-or-treaters, although I'm always prepared. You still see the pumpkin carving out here. There's opportunities for some of the rides, hay rides. I know schools do the costume parties, and a lot of local haunts. We use the word haunts because it's Halloween. We're going to use Halloween words. They'll host very, fun costume events and things of that nature. So yeah, you'll see it. It's just, again, it's kind of weird because the season's doesn't change. You don't feel it.
Like trick-or-treating is huge around here, and especially because I'm in suburbia.
Okay.
Like my last guest, Eva Halloween,
who has a blog all about Halloween all year long, she says that she doesn't get many trick-or-treaters anymore. And I said, well, don't worry, because they definitely come out here. I mean, it's we just sit out the end of the sidewalk and it's just one after the other after the other. So
that's interesting. So let me ask you a question about Halloween trick-or-treating.
Yes.
What was the last year or last age you were when you went trick-or-treating?
I probably, and trick-or-treating for me was a little different. I wasn't ever allowed to just kind of roam the neighborhoods. I had a lot of friends who did. And, even though I grew up in a small town, we had our city, our town, and I grew up kind of out in the country of that town. And so trick-or-treating for me was, the parents would get you in the car and you'd drive to grandma's to trick or treat, or you'd drive to your aunt and uncle's to trick or treat.
Oh, wow.
And that kind of thing. And so I would see my friends, kind of walking all over town, having their big giant bags of candy. And I guess I thought it was cool. I don't think I was super jealous, but I ended up really, after a few years, I kind of decided I liked staying home to experience the trick-or-treaters. And we didn't have a ton, but I really enjoyed staying at home, just experiencing it, seeing the different programs on TV and getting the trick-or-treaters at the door and, kind of putting your home haunt, your shtick together and lighting the candles. And I remember they'd always play Monster Mash on the radio. And I thought
right.
That was cool. My mom always made chili on Halloween. Sometimes it was potato soup, but chili has always been a tradition. So I've kind of carried that on. So I don't know. I think probably, trick-or-treating for me was never hardcore as far as actually going door to door. So probably only, when I was littler, younger, doing that.
Huh. Well, you'd be surprised to hear what age I was the last time I went. Oh, goodness. I'm almost afraid to admit. I was 32.
Wow, that's impressive.
Well, and I did it before that. The last time was probably when I was in college. So I was about 22 then. So I went 10 years without doing it, other than handing out candy myself and doing and dressing up in a costume and, that kind of fun thing. But I was kind of dared by friends. And one of my friends said she was small and little, put a costume on her. You think she was a kid. And I'm a little bit taller, but I just kind of changed my voice and went trick or treat. And nobody said, oh, a nice costume. They said, nice costume. Nobody said, well, how old are you? Because we had our son with us and he was like only 12, but he was tall and you could tell he was a boy. So we let him get in front of us and we wanted candy. I wanted free candy, actually.
Well, that's one of the kind of creepy things about Halloween. You just have to trust, and you don't know who's under those costumes.
No, you don't. You didn't know it was a 30-year-old woman underneath that costume. But I got a lot of candy, was really thrilled, and that was my last time trick-or-treating, though.
Well, I'm impressed. Actually, I see, I don't know if it's a new thing, but it used to be, I guess when I was little, you'd see some parents out with their little kids, but they weren't dressed up. And nowadays, all the parents, you see the parents dressed up with the kids, at least in our neighborhood. And I think that is so cute.
Yeah, and I grew up mostly on Air Force bases, and it was always safe. We rolled in the whole neighborhood. We were that group of kids, and we had our bags. My mom said, no, you can't take a pillow sack. That's being rude, and you can't be a hog. And so we just had our pumpkins or whatever. We had a few of them, and we'd fill them up, run home, do it again. And everybody did that. And then nobody had a problem with that. But my mom or dad, when they'd walk us around, they'd go with us. They dressed up too. Back then, everybody did it. Everybody got into the spirit of it. So I have really great memories of that. And we were always encouraged to create our own costumes. You couldn't just go buy one in a bag. So we always made our costumes out of stuff we found at home, or we might go to a thrift store. And I have great memories of that, really getting prepared for the season. It was fun.
Yeah. I do remember having room parties in elementary school, the little Halloween parties, and you'd get the little treat bags and the Tootsie Roll Pops, with the Kleenex over it to look like a ghost. That is so traditional.
Some things never change. I love that. Great memories.
Yes, and there's just something about seeing orange and black construction paper.
I agree.
That just gets you excited.
It does make me want to make a pumpkin, a jackal. Yeah,
some kind of craft project.
Yes, and white too. I always want to make ghosts. So yeah, that stuff is fun. That was the fun part of it. Decorating we would decorate our bedroom doors at any holiday, but especially at Halloween. And then when we got a little older, my parents said, well, we want you to answer the doors now. And so my older brother and I would make creepy, scary music and creaky door sounds and stand in the back and boo and jump out from the bushes. And my parents said, oh yeah, have fun, do it. So my brother and I got into that for several years. That was a blast.
Yeah, that's the home haunt part of it. That's I think more fun than the actual trick or treating.
You know what? I would agree with you. Did you know that Mary Todd Lincoln, the wife of our president, conducted seances in the White House?
I did, and I never knew if that was like a fact or if people just assumed that. So do you have information on that?
Well, let me ask you to guess, fact or fiction?
Okay.
What do you think?
Oh, I thought there was another question coming. Sorry. I would say fact then. I would say fact.
I'm going to say you're right. Their 11-year-old son died of a fever back in 1862 during the Civil War. And she went ahead and hosted the seance to see if she can make contact. Just communicating with the dead was common. That's the point I'm trying to make. It wasn't bizarre. It wasn't weird. It wasn't strange. It was just a part of living. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if she ever made contact, but at least there was the attempt in the White House. So there you go. We have a little spiritualist trivia for the White House there.
So speaking of that same time period, you are, as most of us know, or we should know, a Ouijaologist and a Ouija expert. So tell us what role, the Ouija board played in the days of Halloween in its early days.
Well, what's so fascinating about that is the board was just such a normal part of life again. And it goes right back hand in hand with the spiritualist movement. It was so common just to pull your board out every day, any day, not just Halloween, as a lot of people do, in our era of living. They would pull it out and use it daily to speak and make contact with their dead loved ones. But there is some very interesting Ouija board history and superstitions that go hand in hand with this time of the year, because people pull the board out. They want to play a seance at their house for Halloween, or they think it's going to scare them. So here's some interesting facts that people follow, and they think it's all real. For example, if you put a silver coin on the board, that you'll block your spirits to coming through, the bad spirits. So you put a coin on your board, it'll block spirits. I've also heard crystals help with that. They've always said, don't use a board in a cemetery. You don't use a board when there's a natural death that's taken place. So that'd be like a suicide or some kind of murder or something. They say don't use it if you're physically, mentally, emotionally ill. And I'm going to say I agree with that one so far. They say never play alone. I'm going to say yes and no, but I'm going to say mostly don't play alone. Mm-hmm. And they say if you ever let the planchette roam around and it goes in the direct order of the alphabet, like A, B, C, D, that's an evil spirit. I disagree. And then also they say if it makes a figure eight, several times on the board, it indicates an evil spirit. And you know what? I got to tell you, most of them come in making spirals and figure eights.
Really?
And figure eight is actually a symbol of infinity. Mm-hmm. It's a great symbol. It's also related to the spider because it has 8 legs. And there's a whole idea of things being cyclical when you think of the figure eight and infinity. It means there's no beginning and end and everything just keeps changing form. So I disagree with that one too.
Yeah, I would not immediately think of something negative if I saw, a figure eight movement.
Yeah. So it's weird how that became kind of a superstitious thing to follow. And then here's another one. If you contact an evil spirit, turn the board over. Well, I don't know what that means.
Like upside down? Yeah,
I turn it over like you put the face down. And that's interesting. I never heard of that one before. And it's funny. People really follow these things. I found mention of these over and over again in my research. Even people that write about it will say, oh, do all these, do this, or thinking, I would suggest other things, but those weren't any of them. Well, I would say don't do it alone. And it's always not good to go in a cemetery to do it. But I have, and I must be honest, when I was younger, I did, and nothing bad happened to me. But I will say I had a lot of communication come through. It was like the old fashioned phones and the switchboard. I had a lot of party lines crossing, everybody wanting to talk. So it was a little crazy. It's just, I wouldn't. I don't recommend doing that. You'll just spook yourself. That's what will happen. Yeah. Every sound you hear will be, oh my God, it's a ghost. So
will the Ouija board accompany you on Halloween this year? Do you use the Ouija board on Halloween?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would think that would be kind of weird not to.
I agree. Will you be?
I really am thinking about doing it. I have not in recent history, but I'm thinking about trying. I always had kind of a Thanksgiving, which is kind of weird. A Thanksgiving Ouija session for the last 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never tried it on Halloween. My mom will be here this Halloween, and she's usually my partner. So maybe we'll have to.
How perfect. And that's, and I've thought about, I'm going to go out and dress up and go to a party somewhere. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to host my own seance, and it'll be with the board. And I usually don't call them seances, but for Halloween, I will. Yeah. I call them, for me, I talk to the spirits all the time, but I will. I'm going to call a special one. And, and this brings me to an important point I wanted to talk about a little bit was, I think you and I have talked about this before, but people think that Halloween is really a time of the year when the veil between the living and the dead is lifted, or it's thin, and so we can make spiritual contact. So, what do you think about that? Do you think that's true, or do you think it's false? Or
even up to a couple of years ago, when I was starting my paranormal team, which we don't do much now, but when we first started out, I was doing a lot of reading and a lot of researching. And in many ways, I was still learning as I was going. And I really believed that, wow, if we're going to have an investigation, it's a shame that we have to have this investigation in April or in, June. Because I was thinking, well, there's less chances of us to make contact then. And since then, I'm like, what was I thinking? You don't have to have an investigation in September or October to have contact. And the more people I've talked to, I don't hear that as much anymore, but you still hear it. Like my favorite Halloween episode in the world of Roseanne, she talks about the veil between the living and the dead being lifted. And I always heard that. And I thought, well, that maybe is a thing.
I think, it is a thing. And this is how I explain it. When I think about the veil being thinner and a good time for spiritual contact, I have to always talk about the law of critical mass in relationship to this. And the law of critical mass is a physics law that tells us that when a critical number, a certain point, a certain amount, whatever that number may be, but it's specific to the way of thinking, a way of behaving, a way of doing, it's all about a consciousness. When that certain number is reached, everybody of that similar kind will be affected and swayed to this new way of being. So it's called the law of critical mass. And let me give you an example. Ken Keyes talks about this, and I wrote about it in my first book too, because I think it's a very important concept, and I'll show you how it ties in with Halloween, which is really cool. So there was this group of monkeys located on a remote island. And there's several of these remote islands with groups of monkeys on them. Now, monkeys don't swim. We all know that. They don't skip water and swim. They may splash around in it and put water on them and play, and they wash their coconuts in it, but they don't swim. And these islands weren't close to each other. Well, researchers were able to go out and explore these monkeys quite a few years ago because there was no contact with humans and no contact with other monkey species. And what was interesting was they watched them over a period of time. And one group of monkeys on this one island started washing their coconuts. That was something new. Monkeys never washed their coconuts until this point. The monkeys were washing their coconuts. They noticed that the behavior of the monkeys on the other islands, they weren't washing coconuts. They were just hitting them and eating them and drinking the stuff out of them and eating them. What's interesting is after all the monkeys started doing the same thing on this one remote island, all of a sudden, like wildfire, the monkeys on the other remote islands, not in contact with each other, started washing their coconuts. And this is an example of the law of critical mass. Enough monkeys on one island did it. And let's just say that number was 50. It was a lot more than that. But let's say it was 50. That was enough for all the other consciousness to reach that, to somehow on a conscious level, maybe a subconscious level, in their psyche, they all start behaving the same way. So now let's think about this in terms of Halloween. Many, many, many groups of people out there. And like you just said yourself, it feels like it's thinner. Roseanne says it must be true. But some of the religions talk about it. I know in Samhain they talk about this. They believe that the veil is thinner. And what that means is it's the time of the equinox. Here we are. We're coming back to the equinox now. And this is the time when it changes, the autumnal equinox. And that has to do with the affinity sign too. But what happens is if enough of us at that time, in the same day, the same space and time, believe something, we can affect the consciousness of every other person that's in this same mode of celebrating Halloween. So therefore, I'm going to say, yes, I believe that the veil is thinner. It's lifted between the living and the dead because so many of us are believing it, thinking it, wanting it at the same times that I really believe it's a time when you can make even greater contact. So yes, I'm taking advantage of it. I'll be doing my seance and I'll be making my contact. And I think you should too.
Never in a million years would I have considered that. Interesting.
Well,
That's an interesting point.
Well, you know, what's so cool about Halloween and why we all love it and why I love it, you love it. If you think about it, down to brass tacks, it's the way for us to reconnect with spirit. It's our way for us to communicate with that which seems hidden from us, the mysterious, the dead, our relatives, our loved ones. It's a time to believe that we really do exist. The afterlife exists. You know, All Saints Day is right around this same time, November 1st. It was to honor all their dead people as well. Or Dia de los Muertos is the same. Mm-hmm. We want to honor that because we want to know that they're okay and that we can make that connection. And so thinking about this time, in this time of year, reflecting upon that, sure, why wouldn't the veil be thinner? You know, why wouldn't it be? So it's very interesting if you think about it. This really ties back in with the history of us and spiritualism, how we believe that it was just everyday thing to, have a seance the next day, go to church, or to be living and be talking to the dead at the same time, or respecting them. It's very, very interesting how this all kind of comes together.
I can dig it. Works for
I dig
me.
I dig it too.
So what do you think of when you think of myths and legends for Halloween? What's the first thing that pops in your brain?
So funny. I think of that razor and the apple legend.
That's what I think about. And I even found it when I was looking up things to talk about. I even found it on Snopes. It's on Snopes, and it says false. There were never any reports of razor blades and apples. And I think it's funny because I even remember getting flyers, like orange flyers around Halloween. And I don't remember if this is exactly correct, but I remember them having safety information and what not to accept from homes if you were going trick-or-treating. And I remember talk about hospitals donating x-ray machines to scan candy. And I don't know if that in itself was a myth or if I really remember that, but I remember talk about that. And I'm like, how crazy is that we were x-raying candy and there was never actually any, reports of it. It's so funny.
Strange. It's strange because I remember too, we were told never to accept any open food from people when you went to their homes, like popcorn balls that people would make and apples and because apples is popular around this time. It's part of the harvest of Halloween as pumpkins are as well. And so my parents would say, we're going to go through your candy now. And we would sort it out and anything that came that was homemade, unfortunately we had to throw it away. We were told. I heard the same story growing up. Isn't that interesting?
It's so funny. And I guess that was kind of an 80s thing, I guess late 70s.
Yeah, late 70s
thing. I'm surprised we don't have a movie just strictly about razor blades and an apple or something. Because that would certainly play on people's fears.
Well, I don't know if that would go over well with Charlie Brown's Halloween or anything, would that?
Oh, true. I definitely wouldn't. Like, that's a different kind of nerd right there. That's the whole blood and gory part of Halloween.
Right. Right. We don't want to find that razor blade in the Great Pumpkin or anything like that.
I prefer the Great Pumpkin kind of Halloween.
Yeah, that's always everybody's favorite story, isn't it? Around this time of year.
Mm-hmm. So how about now? You may know about this one, and you may not. I'm not sure. Do you know much about kind of this? I keep going back to this Victorian age because I'm obsessed with it. But did you ever read a lot about the Dumb Supper or a lot of the other divination games that mainly girls would play on Halloween, which was kind of different than our spooky Halloween at this time of year? Although, staring in a mirror to see possibly your future love, that seems a little spooky to me.
Seems a little creepy to me too. No, I didn't know too much about that, and I'd love to hear about it. But I know we talked about the mirror a little bit. What other games do they play?
Oh my gosh! Well, Leslie Pratt Bannatyne, who is on the next week's episode, she's an expert. She's the nation's leading expert on Halloween. She knows a lot about this stuff, and she talks about how on Halloween, which there was a time period where Halloween was more similar to like our Valentine's Day. for young people, I guess. And, you know, there were things they would do, like walk down the steps backwards, holding a mirror, because that was supposed to let you know who your husband was going to be. Or,
Wow.
you know, and the Ouija board, I think, would have been
Oh,
around
yeah.
too. It would have been more like a parlor game, like you've talked about. But
Yeah.
the Dumb Supper is where they had this thing where if you prepared dinner backwards, like literally backwards, like walked backwards and did it backwards, and then like,
Oh, yeah.
it was supposed to let you know, or at least bring your future loved one closer to you, or something. And she explains that, like, I'm forgetting it right now because we've already recorded that, but it'll be so interesting to hear her talk about that, because I asked her, because it's always been a fascinating thing to me. I'm like, did people really believe that if they made their supper backwards, that, you know, their true love would come to them? So,
Oh, interesting. Well, what's cool about that and kind of weird, I think if I started with dessert, I don't know if I get to the main course, I'd be like so full. What would happen if you don't finish? Let's say you don't finish the meals. Is all of a sudden you're just going to be by yourself the rest of your life, or what?
yeah, there's a lot of logistics in that too that I have questions about. You know, how do you eat it and make it backwards? To me, in my brain, that's a little weird, but
Well, that will be an interesting show, because I understand you're talking about everything Halloween.
oh, she is fascinating to talk to. And she's got several books out. And she never tires of going on radio shows and talking about the same Halloween facts and information, and still gets excited about it. She's interesting. She's fun.
Oh, that's really cool. Now, what's this about the candle snuffing?
Well, this was on one of the sites about that I was looking about legends and myths. And it says, if, I don't know how, you know, mainstream this is, but if a candle lighted as a part of a ceremony blows out, it is a sign that evil spirits are nearby. And then I just thought of a question for you, because I'm sure you light some candles sometimes in your Ouija sessions. Do you ever feel like spirit blew the candle out?
You know, this is a great question, because yes, I've had some really interesting experiences with flames before. Flames with candles mostly, although I've had fireplace experience before too. I do think there's some connection there. When I was quite a bit younger, and I was back in college, I did a lot of experiments with the paranormal, and we did table tipping as number one. We did the candle blowing, or I should say flame. You work at the flame, meditate on it, and you ask questions, and the flame moves right, left. You pick where it's going to be for yes or no. And we had some great experiments and experiences with that, where we were getting, it seemed like a conversation. You know, to me, it's too hard to rely on that, because it's too much yes and no. The board I could get really direct sentences. But yeah, I've had that experience. Yes, using the board as well. And it wasn't creepy scary, because I wasn't doing creepy scary stuff. But I'll tell you what, if I was at a slumber party and we did something like that, I think we would all be scared. We'd start a new lore. We'd start a new superstitious lore, you know? But no, that's a great question. And that was something they practiced back during the spiritualism heyday and the seances. They would do work with the candle for answering questions. I just did a lot of research back then in my 18s, 1920s about the different techniques for contacting the dead, and just started implementing them. Just started trying them out to see what would happen. And that was one of them.
And now you know.
And now I know. And I do think it happens. You know, there was another cool story about why we don't have 13th floors in buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you heard that story?
I have. And in fact, my very first apartment that I lived in Kansas City, I remember it had 13 floors, but like the 13th floor was like, you couldn't go to it. Like it was just like equipment and like other stuff. Like they on purpose did not want people going to the 13th floor. So they purposely stopped at 12. And I always thought that was interesting, but I know, yeah, a lot of buildings really do skip the 13th floor. So it's like, is there really still a 13th floor, or just because there's not a number on it that says 13, is it not the 13th floor?
Yeah, it's really kind of interesting. I've been in many hotels that are like that. They just don't have 13 on it. Or like you said, there's a key lock that only some people can access. And I'm thinking, I want to be on the 13th floor. And they say, we don't have the 13th floor. Oh, I just think, because it's like the superstitious number, although it's really not, but it's part of the whole myths of Halloween.
Well, it's kind of that consciousness thing too. Like, are we creating something with the 13th floor?
Very, very interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Maybe I don't want to be on the 13th floor.
Well, why don't you tell that story of the 13th floor, if you recall it?
I don't know that I know any specific story other than just kind of this spookiness of avoiding it.
Okay, well, I do know a story.
You do know a story? Yeah,
yes,
tell us the story.
I do. And it came from, there was this, I think it was on the East Coast. I can't remember which state it was in, but there was a farmhouse, or not a farmhouse, it was a big house, like an estate, and they would allow people to come to the home, and they had to sign waivers. This is at the turn of the century, by the way. They had to sign waivers that said that whatever happens, they won't hold the owner accountable. But what they would do, they come to this house, and the story was, and the game was, they were supposed to go through the different stairs and hallways. Back then, there were no elevators. So they had to try to make their way up to the 13th floor. And the story goes that they would be scared at every level of the floor to see if they can get to the 13th. And they said that if anybody ever got to the 13th, you would never see them again. So that's where the lore got started. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's the story.
Wow, I didn't know it got started that way. I assumed it was just kind of our general kind of fear of the number 13, I guess.
Well, that's what I've always thought too. And very well that could be part of it. This was an interesting lore, I believe, is more of a lore and legend. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Friday the 13th was that day that many people were massacred. And so it was the bad day of blood, a blood fest, right? It was the Knights Templar. And so they were massacred and on Friday the 13th. Because they had different views than the real view that the church held that everybody was supposed to follow. So that's kind of interesting. And that became superstitious for us. And people in Halloween, we like to think about the number 13 because it just kind of goes hand in hand with all the creepy, scary stuff.
Yeah, I'll be sitting in class and it'll be Friday the 13th sometime in the spring. And kids will walk in and be like, "Ooh, Mr. Keller, it's Friday the 13th." I'm like, "What? Oh, it is? Okay.
Okay, thanks for telling me." Again, we go back to what do we want to create around number 13 or that date? If it's our intentions of what we create, and we put ourselves in a hypervigilant state that everything we hear is scary, It's kind of interesting how that works. But I actually personally like the number 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in my last book, The Spirits of Ouija, I have 13 steps of how to protect yourself.
So you made sure you went full on one more step to get the 13th in there, huh?
What's funny is I wrote all those steps and they just ended up being 13. I went,
"Ooh, that's cool."
I go, "I'm staying there."
That's cool.
It just felt, yeah, that is cool. I wasn't even trying for that. But I think there's 13 ways that you can prepare yourself to use a Ouija board.
So I found, just before we decided to record here, I found a really cool and cute Halloween jack-o'-lantern ragtime song. It's actually called Halloween, and the subtitle is The Jack-o'-lantern Rag. And it's from 1911 by Arthur Manlow. And so I decided that would be a little interesting addition to our show. And before we do that, I guess factmonster.com, they use the U.S. Census Bureau as their source, 2012 numbers. There are 47,800 acres of pumpkins harvested in the U.S. in 2012, with a total estimated production value of $148.9 million. Of the top 6 pumpkin-producing states, Illinois led the country by producing an estimated 556.3 million pounds of this vined gourd, followed by California, where you are, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and Michigan. Pumpkins are frequently carved as decorations around Halloween. Well, duh. Well, I think it's interesting that we do so many weird things. Like, there's even, like, festivals and competitions where they just smash the pumpkins. I'm like, they're just so expendable that we just have pumpkins all over and we drop them from cranes and smash them. And we have weird traditions with pumpkins, I guess.
Okay, well, this brings a good joke to us. Here you go. What do you use to mend a jack-o'-lantern or a smashed pumpkin?
I love this. And because I know the answer, I'm going to tell you it's a pumpkin patch. I think that's cute. That came from AmericanFolklore.net, by the way. And then What do you call a fat jack-o'-lantern, Karen?
Let me think about this one. A plumpkin? We laugh at this and think it's funny. I love it.
Yeah, it's so cute. I'm going to try to remember to tell my kids those 2 jokes next week. That'll be really fun.
They're just so fun and goofy. And they're clean and clear. Easy to give.
Yeah, they're not over my head. I can handle them.
Me neither.
They're not esoteric.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's usually where I go.
That's where you try to take me.
I always do.
Let's go ahead and play the Halloween jack-o'-lantern rag right now, and we will be back. It's not very Halloween-y by today's standards, is it?
No, it's not, but it brings back an older era we were talking about earlier. So I liked it. I thought it's very upbeat and fun.
It was cool. And you can find a few other Halloween songs from that time period in the sheet music out there. Some cases there's recordings and some not, but there are a couple of songs from that time period, even on the topic of pumpkins or jack-o'-lanterns. So we've had that symbol for a long time. So let's talk about some other Halloween symbols. You were going to talk about spiders or owls, weren't you?
I would love to talk about owls,
Awesome.
Especially. Yeah. You know, we see them a lot out here. I don't know. Do you see owls a lot where you live?
You don't see owls. I think maybe in certain places in the country, you might be lucky enough to have an owl, or maybe unlucky enough to have an owl outside your, bedroom window, or you'll see sometimes in the woods, the hole in the tree where the owl, you can tell an owl has kind of been. But no, I don't see too many owls.
No, it's a little more rare. When I say we see them all the time, they live out here, and of course they're nocturnal. We'll only see them at night. And when I say night, it's usually when it's quite dark or early hours of the morning. And I've been very fortunate to see these barn owls that tend to live in the area where I live. And I see them quite often. I feel like I'm a magnet for owls. I was telling Patrick earlier, I have been in experiences or situations where I want to see the great horned owl. He's like the largest owl that we have in North America. And I've been in some places where I say, I'm going to see one. And then I go outside and there it is. It's happened to me many times. It's so strange. But I have this thing with owls, and there's this big superstitious concept behind owls that has been with us forever. And, talking about that esoteric stuff I always talk about, owls have been symbols of wisdom and kind of more of a esoteric hidden nature and the esoteric hidden wisdom. It's like, what do we know, or what are we trying to remember to know? And so owls, they're symbols of spiritualism. They're symbols of peace. They're also very wise creatures seen as wisdom. They represent the spirit side because they come out at night, when supposedly the ghouls all start, mashing around. So they're very, sacred, especially this time of the year. They're sacred at the time of Halloween and in the equinox. So they seem to appear at bonfires, and so do bats, by the way. And it's mostly probably because a lot of those animals will gravitate towards the light, because they may be other animals that gravitate, that they eat, they prey on. But owl, I want to talk a little about owl too, in terms of what it means to Native Americans. I'm really drawn to that type of spirituality. And they talk about owls as being sorcerers and witches. So there you go. There's this association again with maybe witchcraft or witches from from Halloween. They're also into dark arts, possibly black magic and things of that nature. But owl also, though, it's not just all these negative connotations to it. It goes back to like Greek and Athena, the goddess of wisdom. And she always had an owl sitting on her shoulder, which is all knowing and all seeing. So owls have this double side to them. They can be, people can see them as very negative, and then it can also be seen as very positive and all knowing. Hey, that's not unlike the Ouija board, is it? They're kind of controversial like the Ouija board, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why I like them.
Their eyes are so creepy, though.
Love their eyes. They glow, and they're like this yellow, greenish, orange color, beautiful. And, they can move their heads around, kind of like Reagan from The Exorcist.
Kind of.
So they're the perfect symbol for Halloween if you want to get creepy and scary. Yet they have this whole other side to them that is very well revered in many cultures. And that they're very much of a aid for you to see the total truth in circumstances. So they always say, pay attention to owls if you see them, because they may show you what's coming to you. They may show you a glimpse into enlightenment and what your future may hold. Kind of cool stuff.
Now, I did look up some information about the witch's broomstick, and
Ooh.
I really had no idea what I was going to find about the witch's broomstick. Now, the broomstick came later, apparently. The witch is what we think of a symbol as a witch came later. But the broomstick itself, now, there were a few sites that just said, a lot of witches were older and they had walking canes when they walked around, and sometimes they would use their broom. They were just taking care of the household and cleaning, and so they had a broom around, and so that's what they carried with them a lot. But most sites I found talked about how the witch's broom went back to being a phallic symbol, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, tell us more.
And used by witches in fertility rites. Now, when I saw the first site, I thought, what are they talking about? But then that was on several sites, and it went so far as to say that even witches were known to use hallucinogenic herbs, or I guess they were suspected of using hallucinogenic herbs, sometimes known as flying potions, that gave them, the feeling of flying. And so a lot of witches apparently were just high, and they thought they were flying. And so that's kind of where that came from, I guess.
Interesting. Well, that's called flying high, I guess.
I guess. And so they gave the witch a broom. So I did not expect to find that. And that was on both of those things were on multiple sites. So I was like, wow, I guess.
I wouldn't expect that either, but I'm curious. I always thought like the broom symbolized cleaning and moving into a new space. You kind of clean and prepare the way to step into a new space. I mean, if there's some weddings you go to, people jump over the broomstick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So did you find anything on that?
I did see one site that talked about how the broom is often seen as sweeping out the negative energy and bringing in the positive. And I guess the broom itself, the bottom of the broom, many times they would use herbs, I guess, as the broom. And so that was kind of, I guess, like saging or cleaning the energy of the home too. So there was a little bit about that.
Very interesting. Well, let me tell you about some myths about bad luck, but it's so cool. Let's say you hear 3 hoots of an owl. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That's what they sound like, right? Mm-hmm. That they always come in threes. When they talk, when they communicate, they come in threes. So I guess I must have a lot of bad luck around me. Because it says you can't hear them hoot 3 times. That's all they always do is 3 times.
So 3 times is supposed to be bad luck?
3 hoots of an owl is bad luck. But that's a myth.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Here's another myth. If you see a white cat on Halloween, you'll have bad luck.
A white cat?
Yeah, isn't that weird? A white cat.
I've never heard of that one.
Maybe because it's supposed to be black. So,
I guess
you know
so.
what? I have a black cat and a white cat, and then I have a cat that's black and white. So I guess I always have good or bad luck. It's balanced out. Okay, here's another one. You'll have bad luck if you get out of your bed using your left foot.
Ooh, I think I've heard that one.
But only on Halloween. Only on Halloween.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you can get out of your bed on Christmas and all the other days of the year and not worry about it with your left foot. Okay, so don't put your shirt inside out now when you go to school and you're teaching your kids on Halloween. Don't put it inside out because that's bad luck.
Inside out is bad.
Yeah. Yeah, only on Halloween again.
I don't know that I've put my shirt on inside out ever. But I'll remember that.
It'd be a mistake if I did.
Yeah.
Right. You see people that do that sometimes. Okay, another way to avoid bad luck on Halloween is don't sing before breakfast or cry before dinner. Weird, huh?
I think I would be in trouble.
I was
the
thinking
singing part.
I had to say that to you because I thought you'd be in trouble too.
Yeah, I would be in trouble.
Okay, let's talk about some good luck now.
Okay.
I found this interesting. If you hear a cat sneeze, you'll be lucky.
Those cat sneezing are so cute. So that makes sense to me.
And it's rare though. It's rare when you sneeze. I think I just heard one of my cats sneeze a week ago. And I mean, you hear it and you don't forget. It's just strange. But this is all about only on Halloween now.
Oh.
Okay, so you want to put a dress on inside out. That's good luck, but not a shirt. Go figure. Okay, if the top of your head is itching during Halloween and you itch it, good luck.
Ooh, so you want to itch it if your head is itching on Halloween.
Yes.
Okay.
And you want to have dreams about white cats because then you'll be a lucky person. Only on Halloween now. Who knows where these come from? But they're all over the place. What is this?
Well, maybe I can, because you can force yourself to dream things. Maybe I can force a white cat dream.
Okay, try that. And then, if you dream of death, that's an omen of death too. On Halloween. Now, so don't try not to keep your dreams to remove the death part of them.
You're going to get me so freaked out, I'm just not going to sleep.
I know. Don't get out of bed if you left foot. Just don't forget that one. I mean, the list goes on. There's just so many interesting folklore that we have. Mm-hmm. And the last thing I can tell you about, if you want to scare away evil spirits, they say, ring a bell. Yeah. Ring a bell. I've heard that one before. That kind of makes sense. Maybe it startles them or scares them. It's a different pitch of a sound. Maybe that's what that is.
I know of a bell that I have here in this house, so I guess I'll have to find it.
Yeah, I was looking for my bell, but I couldn't find it, so I better go get that bell before Halloween.
You better find it. You've got a couple weeks.
I know. Better get going on that. Yeah, Halloween's just around the corner.
Yeah.
And I see that you've already broken into the candy.
I have broken into the candy. I'm trying to kind of ease off the candy a little bit, but anything chocolate and peanut butter for me, bad news. And Reese's, they shape those things into any possible item for any holiday, and they trap me every time.
Oh yeah, they're with every holiday. You're right. Oh. My favorite candy from Halloween is candy corns.
I do like candy corn as well. Now, do you get into all the little interesting new flavors they have of the candy corns, or do you go completely traditional?
I like traditional.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I've tried them, but I like traditional. They're just so addicting. So I try not to try them too much. Let's put it that way.
And they really get you by on the package saying "made from real honey."
Yeah, but look at everything else that's in them.
Yeah, like there's nothing else in it.
Right. No, we just ignore those if we can. So when I buy my candy to give out for trick-or-treaters, at the few that will come, I don't buy too much because I don't want to have it left over. I don't want to eat it because I would.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even going to go there because I will eat plenty of it. I will probably buy extra to make sure I have some. And that's horrible. Plus, my mom, like I said, is coming, and I know she's bringing cookies.
Oh, gosh. Hey, speaking of that, have you ever bobbed for apples before?
I have never bobbed for apples. And as a germaphobe, I don't know that I ever would bob for apples. I remember avoiding it there was one Halloween party in, like I said, elementary school when we were allowed to have Halloween parties, and they bobbed for apples, and I skipped out on it because I thought it was gross.
Yeah, it kind of is when you stop and think about it. Although I have to say that I participated in it. I've been to several parties like that. I don't know if I would do it now, but no, I just love the whole competition thing of it and sticking your head in the water and see if you can grab that apple and biting in hard. And hopefully there was no razor blades, but but yes, I've done that before. It's kind of a cool thing.
Well, do you have
to each his own, right?
Any other Halloween nerdiness that you would like to add to our episode here? It's been so fun.
Well, I just, like I said earlier, I really got into the costumes, and then as we got older, we did the costumes with creating all the creepy sounds and trying to scare the neighbors. I do remember not too long ago, I paired up with some other neighbors of mine, and we put pantyhose over our head because, that looks creepy, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Put pantyhose over your head and jump out of the bushes, and that is really fun. And the looks of people's face.
I think I'm a bank robber when I see that.
Well, you could be. That's part of the fun. So, I mean, that might be something you want to try this year.
I might. We might have to try it on Meryl, too, our dog.
Oh, my gosh. Your dog, you'll probably petrify and traumatize your dog forever.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that. He has his normal pumpkin costume. He's just a pumpkin every year.
Aw, well, he's a cute dog, so that works out well for him.
So, thank you, Karen, for being with me. You rock as always.
Thank you, Patrick, for having me. What fun was this, just to chatter about all of our Halloween experiences?
It was fun. I'm thinking about doing a few more of these in the future.
It's great. It's great fun to go back and think about where these traditions started, why we have superstitious beliefs around them, the lores, the legends. It's just exciting to remember all this stuff.
An exciting time of year, and I hope all of you are also enjoying this, my favorite time of year, the weather and everything that comes with it. So we will see you next time.
I hope you enjoyed listening back to that as much as Karen and I did. So this next one is where I featured the trick-or-treaters from 2019. This episode 108, actually aired 2 weeks after Halloween that year, and it was called Halloween Withdrawal, and a live report from trick-or-treating. The music from this episode is actually from Kevin MacLeod from Incompetech.com. For those of us who tend to like the spooky and mysterious things in life, sometimes when Halloween comes and goes, it's easy to feel a little down. Are you suffering from Halloween withdrawal? Well, step inside the big seance parlor, because here, in episode 108, it's still Halloween. So this year I decided to take this show on the road, literally, to interview trick-or-treaters of all ages, with parental permission, of course, right here in the neighborhood.
So I want to know your favorite part about Halloween.
Candy! My favorite part is costumes.
My favorite thing is candy.
Your favorite thing is candy. What is your favorite costume you've ever... what's the favorite character you've ever been for Halloween?
Not this one. It hurts. This map hurts my face. Probably Captain America.
Captain America?
I wanted him one time.
Captain America. And so what are you tonight?
I'm Dobby the house elf.
Nice.
I got the sock pinned.
The sock? See, I guess I apparently am not cool enough to know that. Maybe I'm too old. But it has a sock?
Yeah. So in the books, he's not allowed to be set free from slavery till the owner gives him a article of clothing. So Harry Potter tricks his owner into giving him a sock. So that's how he gets free.
That sounds complicated, and I'm kind of thinking it's not your sock.
No, it's my dad's.
Okay, I thought maybe
from his cabinet.
I thought maybe your foot wasn't that big.
Yeah, I didn't even ask him.
Nice. And you know what's funny?
I am a size 6.
I keep looking at your pretend eyes instead of your for real eyes, just because.
I have right under my.
You do have for real eyes.
I have these little holes. That's where my real eyes see.
I'm so glad you talked to me. You rock.
Yeah.
Yay! My first interview tonight. Yay! Thank you. Did you guys all get your candy?
No.
You can.
Just to listen.
You can.
Do you talk about all sorts of things?
All
or?
sorts of things,
Fun.
paranormal stuff, but kind of, Halloween stuff too. We're big
Let me
nerds.
steal one more piece of
Yeah.
candy.
I'm digging your house.
Hey!
Yeah, it's fun. We're giant nerds.
No, it's fun.
We like to nerd out.
What do you mean, nerds?
Oh, nerds are a good thing in our house.
Yeah.
Happy Halloween!
Okay, there we go.
And so I want to know your favorite part about Halloween.
Free candy, obviously.
Free candy. And what are you dressed as tonight?
CL Phantom High from Black Butler.
Again, I'm so not cool enough to know what any of those things are. What's that from?
It's an anime, just...
I bet people who listen to my podcast, I bet there's some cool people who will totally know what that is. Do you have a favorite memory from Halloween? Like, do you go out trick-or-treating every year? Like, what's, besides candy, what's the best part of it?
Well, I like dressing up. It's a lot of fun to just, go out as your favorite character or something like that.
And how late do you stay out, especially? You're getting a little older. How late do you stay out now?
Well, it depends on my feet.
How many neighborhoods do you go through?
At least 2.
And do you have any rules about your candy when you're done? Like, do you get to just eat it whenever, or do you have to, like a tax, like give some to your parents and stuff like that?
Only the candy that I don't like.
Nice. Well, what's your favorite candy?
Tough question. I'd have to say candy corn, probably, because I'm generic.
I love candy corn. I also love peanut butter cups.
Those are good, too.
Yeah. Well, you rock. Are you sure either of you don't want to be interviewed? Okay. All right. They're not very talkative. So happy Halloween.
Have fun.
Yeah, happy Halloween, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
I just want to know, what your favorite part of Halloween is.
The part when you get candy, and then you leave, and then you eat it.
What, besides candy? Is there a favorite part besides candy?
Seeing everyone's decorations, I guess, and yeah.
What's your favorite candy?
Crunch Bar.
Nice, you rock.
What do you think about all your mom's Halloween decorations around the house? Did she go a little overboard?
I mean, it's fair.
It's kind of overboard.
It's fair, just fair.
I don't know.
I mean, it's a little overboard.
How late do you get to stay out for Halloween when it's cold like this?
Until I get frostbite.
That's fair. That's cool. All right, I'll let you move on. You rock.
See you guys.
See you. Thank you.
You got candy?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. So I want to know, what's your favorite Halloween tradition that you do around Halloween fall time?
To dress up and go around on Halloween and get candy.
Duh, I should have known that,
It's
right?
free candy. Candy.
Free candy?
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so what's your favorite tradition besides the trick-or-treating?
Going with my family and my dog around the houses, meeting new people.
And you do have a dog, and is the dog dressed up? What's the dog?
Princess.
Aww.
Little princess.
That is so cute.
Go up.
We love. So you're okay with being interviewed too? Awesome. That's so cute.
No, Hope's trying to get in up here.
Hope-y, don't take
That's
all the
cool.
spotlight.
Do you guys like watch scary movies or anything? Are you allowed to watch or spooky things?
Yesterday we watched The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, but that's spooky, right? That's kind of spooky.
No,
watch anything
it's not.
that's PG-13.
It's not.
Yeah, not like
not
Do you pumpkins pumpkins and things?
Yeah, we did that yesterday.
How many do you have?
5.
One for each of the family members.
Except Hopi.
She cannot.
Hopi just gets gets
Not
to
a
come
very
out
good
here.
carver.
Yeah, Hopi.
Well, she doesn't have thumbs.
So yeah.
Yes, actually, she does.
Okay, last thing, favorite candy. I'll ask each one of you, favorite candy.
Nuts.
Just nuts?
Nuts.
Oh, nerds! I had some nerds today. I'm a teacher. A kid at school gave me nerds, and I ate them in like 2.3 seconds. What's your favorite candy?
Skittles.
Skittles. There's some Skittles in this bowl. Did you get some?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite candy, sir?
Mike and Ike's.
Mike and Ike's. Okay, is this Mom?
Yeah.
Mom, favorite candy?
Mike and Ike's.
It's a family thing. What's your favorite candy?
Snickers.
Snickers is second to Reese's peanut butter cups for me. Yeah.
See, Dad wanted me to like Snickers like him, so there'd be a shift in the balance of our house.
You gotta pass it on, you know.
But pumpkin seeds. We accidentally gave one.
This is the dog, right?
No, we gave the dog the hot dog. Hopi's favorite candy is a hot dog.
No, she never had a hot dog.
Yes, she did.
Wow, catch up. She had a hot dog.
Yeah, she also stole my mom's beans.
Oh my gosh, that's probably bad for a dog.
No.
No?
Let's just gonna make a toot.
I bet she did.
Yeah, we were watching America's Got Talent, and there's just a big. It squeaked against the carpet.
See, Halloween memories.
You should also go down the houses because those are where the most kids go.
Oh,
Okay,
so
if
I
you-
should just go around to the houses and tag people and interview them?
Yeah, but because most people usually get tired when they come.
So they don't make it down here?
Yep, pretty much.
Man, that's why we gotta flash the lights brighter.
Maybe we've got to move.
No.
Yeah, move to a more open zone.
No.
Out there.
Move to California.
You never know what you're gonna get right when you interview kiddos.
Yeah.
I didn't know, like, you guys are the most talkative ones here. A giant bee. Oh, yeah, like those. I don't know what they searchlight things. When they have crowd, I can tell. Okay, so what's your favorite part about Halloween?
Well, I'm not really into scary stuff since, I don't know, it freaks me out insanely, even though my mom is born on Halloween, which is kind of weird.
And your mom likes nerdy Halloween stuff.
Very much, yes. We got like those night stays at Limp Mansion and everything. Pretty chill.
Your mom and I could be best buds. Like, we could totally, like, have some seances and stuff. That would be pretty fun.
With like the little Ouija boards.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she has one of those under her bed.
Yeah, she just got one.
Yeah, that's weird.
Do you have any other favorite traditions to do around Halloween time in the fall?
Well, I basically just like getting up and trick-or-treating just because it's like one of the only times I get up and do something. And then normally we throw big parties depending on how old my mom's turning. Last year was pretty okay.
One of those big numbers?
Yeah, it's 40. 50's probably going to be the next big one, which is going to be... Actually, I'm not going to be here. Wow, okay.
Wow.
Moving out.
Oh, moving out.
Yeah.
Do you, so you said you don't like spooky stuff, so you don't like spooky movies and stuff?
I've never actually watched a horror movie before.
Never, ever?
I watched one in, like, German when I was, like, 8, and I've been horrified of movies since then. It is so bad.
Well, what's the spookiest thing that you like? You watch, like, The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and stuff like that, right?
Oh, that terrifies me.
What?
No, I'm kidding. That would have been bad. Yeah, some ghost shows really freak me out.
Hocus Pocus?
Oh, I meant like Paranormal Lockdown.
Oh, that's kind of stuff. Yeah. But you've seen Hocus Pocus, right? Oh my gosh, you have to watch Hocus Pocus. Tell your mom.
I'm a bad movie
That's a
nerd
homework
daughter.
for you. You have to watch Hocus Pocus.
All right.
Well, you rock. Thanks for letting me talk to you. Do you have anything else you want to share about Halloween nerdiness?
Being a nerd is great. Go away.
It sure is. It sure is. Thank you. You rock.
Yay.
I'll talk to your mom.
I feel so special.
Yay.
I got interviewed for a podcast.
Woohoo! Happy Halloween! Okay, so we're sitting here trick or treating. We got some people walking by, and somebody challenges me to see if I know what Satan's Tunnel is. And I don't think I've heard of Satan's Tunnel here in Missouri. So tell us what Satan's Tunnel is.
Satan's Tunnel's out in Truxton, Missouri. It's a old railroad track that used to go under a tunnel, or over a tunnel. And the story is that a homeless guy was walking across the top of it. Train came, he jumped to his death. Another story is the guy that lives on the corner, his daughter hung herself off of that tunnel. So if the story myth is if you go there, pull in the tunnel, shut your car off, A, you can't restart your car, or B, you'll start hearing people walking. And we've had personal experiences, rocks thrown off the top of the tunnel at us, voices out there, shadows. It's pretty creepy.
Oh my gosh, now like the deaths and stuff, are these like verifiable things?
It's on the internet. Look up Satan's Tunnel. It'll pop up the first one.
How far away from that is here?
Like 20 minutes from Troy, so.
So how many times have you guys been there to like check it out?
Probably 8 or 9 times.
So this is like a big obsession then?
Oh, yeah. My sister-in-law is actually a psychic, and she said it's pretty creepy out there.
Well, your sister-in-law needs to check out this podcast because I talk to a lot of psychics and mediums. Yeah. That's super cool. Thanks for letting me know. I've never heard of that.
Yep, pretty cool.
So thanks for being nerdy with me. Hope everybody's having a happy Halloween. You guys have a nice ride. You rock. Thank you. Yeah, you can join the cool crowd.
I'm good.
You're good? Like you don't want to?
Attention.
All right. Oh. Do you want to talk about Halloween? Does Crosby want to talk about Halloween? I'm not sure what.
He's trying to eat the grass. No, he's trying to eat the leaves.
Now you go for real out on Halloween because your costumes like tend to completely rock.
Yes.
So like,
They're real
what's
deal.
yeah? Like
Yeah.
what's your thing with Halloween?
His wife.
My wife, generally. I have no choice. Born on Halloween, pumpkin baby,
Dog ate a pumpkin.
partial witch, maybe, I don't know.
Giant nerd,
definitely. And yeah, I guess I can't escape it. So it's bled into my work life. I have to wear costumes to work now, and so yeah, that's about it.
Last year, your pirate costume was like the talk of the neighborhood. I think.
Killer. Yeah, actually, the neighbors out there actually remember me for the pirate. The year prior, I think my vampire costume was awesome.
Missed the vampire costume.
I think that was my favorite. But killer, fangs and all.
What are you this year? I can't place you yet.
Well, she's Morticia Adams, and she's covering the door. So I am Gomez Adams with the suit. My rose has disappeared into my pocket. But
I'm telling you, this is like hardcore. This is not like your Halloween store costume.
well, of course not. Of course not. You got to go all in. All in.
Does the family have like Halloween, fall, spooky traditions?
Outside of starting to decorate the house sometime in late September, no real traditions. But we start picking outfits every bit of 30 days in advance. I'm pretty sure my wife does it a year in advance. So
she's got it on a spreadsheet, ready to go already for next year.
Sorted out. Yep. So I encourage you to check Facebook. She looks awesome this year.
I totally will.
And that's Gomez Adams in his normal attire. Shall be kissing her arm to her shoulder. And making sure he
Well, cool. Tell her if she wants to come down.
Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed a little Halloween rewind. And I hope you and your family have a happy and spooky Halloween. For show notes, including links to anything we may have mentioned in this episode, visit bigseance.com. And you can continue the discussion and hang out with a great community of paranerds by joining us in the Big Seance Parlor on Facebook. Want to hear your voice in a future episode? Go to bigseance.com/feedback to learn how. Thank you so much for listening. Unfortunately, it's time to blow the candles out, but we'll see you and light them again next time. Thank you to the following super paranerds who support the show at patreon.com/bigseance. Jennifer Scanlon, Michael Henson, Daryl, Anne Marie Sullivan, Natalie N., Kim Robb, Josiel Lorenzo, and Susan Davey. My supporters at the parlor guest level, who can be found at bigseance.com/parlorguests, are Anne Rekovich from OzParatech.com, Dina DeCastro of Dina DeCastro Astrology, Janae Michaels from Grey House Tarot and Farm Artifacts, Amy Park Gedicke of AmyParkG.com, Lonnie Scott from WeirdWebRadio.com, Lana and John of Carbon Lilies, Midge Munster from MidgeMunster.com, Heather N. of DancingBeeAlchemy.com, Diane Razmataz, Tracy King, Andrew Watson, Amy Taylor, Christine Rath Selhe, Mindy Kentop, Hope Battaglia, Cass and Bailey, Melissa Armour, Janet Shaw Binns, Bruce Williams, and Christopher Kohler. And I currently have 4 awesome listeners who support the show at the $10 level, which isn't even a thing. Those awesome paranerds are Glenna Becker, Steve Skinner, James Wilfong, and Peggy Hagan. I also have 3 awesome listeners who support the show at the completely made up $20 level. And those awesome peeps are Norman and Linda Keller. That's my mom and dad. And Kevin Gilbert. Thank you, paranerds.